Good morning, everyone. We are going to very good news. This is the last section in the book we're going to do, which means we'll finish up before spring break, which means we'll have tons of time for EOC review, and every single one of you are going to knock out a 4 and 5 on that test. So I'm kind of excited already to see those results. I know they're going to be really good, and hang in with me for a little bit longer here. We'll have plenty of time to redo and review and read whatever we need to do. So yeah, let's get to it here. So this is rational equations, basically algebra fraction equations. Rational means a fraction, and equations means you see an equal sign, and 11.5 means that's the section in the book. So we've gone through all that. So first you find a common denominator and multiply by it. We did this before with fractions, but we just didn't have x's and stuff down there. But if you multiply by your common denominator, all the fractions should disappear. And then rewrite it. It's going to be a normal equation, and finish off the equation, whatever you got there. Okay, so hopefully you've had a minute to write this down, and let's look at the next problem here, or the first problem here. So this is a fraction algebra equation. We can see in the denominators we have x's, and that's what's a little different. But basically, when you start this off, you need to put a space after each fraction. And you don't necessarily need to do it ahead of time, but it needs to make it there eventually. So I put a parentheses after each one. And in this parentheses, we're going to write the common denominator. So look at the denominators. You have 12, 2, and 3. They all go into 12. You could multiply them and get, I think, about 72, but that's going to make it a lot harder for you. If you just find the least common denominator, then that will get you solving the problem faster. So we're going to multiply by 12. And look at the variables. I have not a variable, an x, and an x. So you take the biggest number you see on the x, and that's going to be 1 here. And usually in this section it will be a 1, although we'll have a couple x squares here and there. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is cancel things out. All the denominators should go away. So as I go through my denominators, it should be totally eliminated. So the 12 and the 12, they just cancel out. They're totally gone. They really cancel to 1, but I'm not going to write a 1 because that will be extra stuff. The 2 and the 12 reduce to 6. And the x cancel out. So 2 and the 12 goes into 2 6 times, and the x's just cancel. Last but not least, the 3 goes into 12 4 times, and the x's go away. All right, so let's go from the beginning here. We've basically gone through steps 1, 2, and 3. We found the common denominator that was 12x. We multiplied everything by that denominator. And step 3, all the fractions should be gone. That's not really a step. It's just something you need to notice. So I'm looking at step 3. This fraction is gone, this fraction is gone, and this fraction is gone. Now I'm a happy camper. I'm going to rewrite my equation and finish. So what's left here in the first term? That's going to be 5x. What's left here in the second term? Let me not forget that minus sign. Well, looks like everything's gone, but that 6 there is hanging out. And a lot of stuff, a lot of action over here as well. And it looks like I'm just left with a 4 there. Now, this process that we went through turned an equation with fractions and x's in the denominators and stuff like that to something that is incredibly reasonable. Let's add the 6. I'm tempted to not even write that step anymore. And then x is going to be 2. Divide both sides by 5. Okay, so if you do that first step correctly, the rest of it is easy peasy, as they say. Okay, if you do the first step correctly, which I'm not saying will be a walk on the beach, but if you do that first step correctly, or that first line correctly, the rest of it will go pretty well. Okay, let's look at a try it, and I'm going to call this a step-by-step try it. Go ahead. I will tell you, go ahead and find your common denominator and then put it beside each term. Go ahead and do that. I'm going to pause. No, I'll stop.